Alcoholism and domestic violence will never mix. So on August 24th, 2020, the Boone County Sheriff's Office responded to what they believed to be an automobile accident. Once at the scene, they found that the driver was deceased, but he didn't die from a car accident. It appeared that Richard Lafee, who was the driver of the vehicle, had died from gunshot wounds. Now, by looking at the vehicle, police didn't find a lot of blood that you might expect to find when a person is shot to death. They found a weapon, but they didn't find any ammunition or spent casings. So that led police to believe that that wasn't the primary crime scene. They made their way to Richard's home where he lived with his wife, Linda Lafee. And when they got to Richard's home, they spoke to Linda Lafee, and she made what they call spontaneous statements, things that she just said that they didn't ask, her questions to get her to say. She just blurted them out. So Linda Lafee just spontaneously said that she and Richard were arguing, that they wrestled over a gun and it discharged. Linda acted like she didn't know how many shots had been fired. She said she knew one shot had been fired, and then she blacked out. Now, Linda Lafee had no injuries that officers could see, but she was having what they referred to as fainting spells. So she was taken to Cox South in Springfield, Missouri to be evaluated. When police searched Richard Lafee's body and the vehicle, they found that he had been shot at least 4 times. He was shot once in the left wrist and 3 times in the torso. When police searched the home, they found the crime scene to be in the kitchen, like going into the hallway. But that wasn't all they found. They also found a man in the basement who was asleep, a man named Michael Watson. Now, Michael Watson told police that he had been asleep all morning long and he didn't know anything, that he was awakened from sleep when officers came down there and found him. Unfortunately for Michael Watson, he was arrested because he had a misdemeanor warrant already. So he was taken to jail. Back in the main part of the house, police found signs of a struggle. They found stuff that was overturned, and it looked like an altercation had taken place. They also found 3 spent shell casings there in the kitchen, and then 15 feet away, they found a 4th spent shell casing and bullet fragment on the floor in the hallway. There was also blood that was found to be in the kitchen, the hallway, and also in the garage. It's believed that part of that, especially that in the garage, the blood that was found in the garage, was there because Richard Lafee left his home trying to get help for himself, trying to make it to a hospital to get medical treatment. And unfortunately, Richard Lafee didn't make it to a hospital. He died before he got to a hospital. Investigators that spoke to Linda Lafee at Cox South in Springfield said that she had blood evidence on herself and on her clothing. Now, Linda Lafee told those investigators that Richard tried to run over her and she didn't remember what happened. But we know that can't possibly be true because the crime scene was in the house. He didn't try to run over her in the house. She was in the house. Richard and Linda Lafee had 2 adult children, and both of their adult children reported to police that Linda Lafee had a history of struggling with prescription and alcohol abuse. They also said that Linda Lafee had a history of pulling a gun on Richard during arguments. Levi even told police that he and his father were together the day before his father's death, and his mother lost control. She was aggressive, she was threatening, and she threw a full mason jar at both him and his father while they were standing in the garage. Now let's get back to Michael Watson, who was being held in the jail. Michael Watson was spoken to by police a second time. And this time when police spoke to Michael Watson, at first he told the same story. He didn't see anything, he didn't hear anything, and he didn't know anything. But eventually he did change his story. Eventually he told police that he had been renting that basement apartment from Richard Lafee for about a month and a half. And on the day of Richard's murder, he was woken up by 4 gunshots. Michael Watson said he went upstairs, and when he got upstairs, he saw Richard laying on the floor and Linda standing over him. Now, he said that the weapon was laying on the floor by Richard, so he picked it up and handed it to Linda, and Linda told him to get back downstairs. Michael said he went back downstairs, he didn't speak to Linda again, and he never tried to help Richard. In a third interview, Michael Watson revealed 2 important things to police. The first one was that he actually saw Linda Lafee wipe her prints off of the weapon with her shirt and then place it in her back pocket. The second thing was that he revealed that he and Linda Lafee had been having a sexual relationship. Linda Lafee was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Now, while Linda Lafee was going through the court process, her children actually filed with the court to have her declared predeceased, meaning that she couldn't inherit any of her husband's belongings or her and her husband's belongings because she's already dead. Only she's not dead, but that's just an Arkansas law to protect family and assets when one spouse murders another spouse. Before any of that was decided, Linda Lafee actually accepted a plea bargain to plead guilty to second-degree murder. And in exchange for her pleading guilty to second-degree murder, Linda Lafee was sentenced to 30 years in the Arkansas Department of Corrections. As of right now, Linda Lafee is set to come up for parole March 15th, 2029. Michael Watson was sentenced to 36 months probation.
Thank you for watching A Case for Arkansas. Please remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share.